Hey, I muted the mic early this time. That's good. Hey, good afternoon. I'm David Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers. It is 4:19 on the 11th of May, 2021. We've got a new tornado warning. This tornado warning is going to include the town of Lovelady. It's in west central Trinity County and southern Houston County in southeast Texas. Now, like a couple other storms today, we're dealing with the potential for brief tornadoes. I'm not expecting these to be long-lived tornadoes or particularly significant tornadoes. That being said, if one of these brief tornadoes manages to hit your house, it's going to be a pretty big deal. So that's why you need to take these warnings seriously. As you can see, this doesn't look like your classic supercellular thunderstorm. This isn't something that has a clear hook echo or a screaming supercellular structure. But as we switch over to the which way the wind is blowing mode, you can definitely see we do have rotation showing up near Lovelady. This is in the middle of kind of a radar hole, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch around different weather radars to see which radar is the closest and gives the best visual on what we have going on. We'll switch to the weather radar out of Leak City, south of Houston, and that'll allow us to get a bit of a better view. And you can see, yeah, we do have rotation showing up right around Highway 19 around Lovelady. Now, a bit of a caveat here is we're looking way up in the storm. With the radar being down in Houston, we're probably looking about 10,000 feet above the surface. So we're not looking at the low levels, which is why we need to take this data with some caution. I don't want you to think we're looking like 1,000 feet above the surface here. Thunderstorms often have some tilt involved in them. So what you're seeing here may actually be a mile or two either west, south, or east of where the radar is showing it. That being said, pretty clear signs of a circulation with this thunderstorm very near the town of Lovelady. Now, as we zoom out, let's make it clear. This tornado warning does not include Trinity. It does not include Crockett. It does not include Groveton. It does not include Kennard. This tornado warning is for a small sliver of Houston and Trinity counties, specifically around the town of Lovelady. It's pouring rain. There's probably some small hail, gusty winds, but the potential for a rain-wrapped tornado is going to be near Lovelady. As we zoom back out, let's go ahead and switch back over to the how hard it's raining mode, and I'll make sure we're actually live, and we are. And you can see as we look farther southwest, we do have other thunderstorms in progress. In fact, we have numerous thunderstorms in progress across portions of North Texas, East Texas, the Brazos Valley into South Central Texas this afternoon. All right, I need to make sure take a little bit of housekeeping note. I'm going to share this to Twitter real quick because Twitter no longer has an easy way to get video to it. All right, my apologies. Anyway, for those just joining, I'm David Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers. It's 4:22 in the afternoon on Tuesday, the 11th of May, 2021. We've been dealing with some tornado warnings this morning and this afternoon. For the most part, we're dealing with brief areas of stronger rotation capable of producing brief, weak tornadoes. We're not expecting long-lived tornadoes, and we're not expecting the kind of tornadoes that manage to stay down for a long time and cause severe damage. That being said, it doesn't take a strong tornado to cause significant damage, especially if that tornado is coming down your street and hits your house. So you need to pay attention to these weather warnings. We do have numerous thunderstorms underway across the state this afternoon. East Texas, the Brazos Valley, South Central Texas, South Texas. We're going to have more storms coming in from northern Mexico that are going to come into South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley tonight with the potential for damaging winds, hail, and flooding. Same thing goes for southeast Texas. So if you want to keep an eye on storms in your area, you can use our free interactive weather radar on our website at texasstormchasers.com/radar, or just download our free mobile app. You can watch our live coverage in that along with our free weather radar. As a reminder, we focus on the most life-threatening storms versus someone's getting poured on storms. So That's how you can keep an eye on the storms in your area. Again, we're dealing with a tornado warning for small portions of central Houston and western Trinity counties in southeast Texas. The potential for a rain-wrapped tornado near Lovelady. And this storm's moving east at 20 miles per hour. It'll be passing northwest of Groveton on Highway 287. This tornado warning does not include Crockett, Kennard, Trinity, or Groveton. It includes Lovelady and includes locations east of Lovelady to about Highway 287. This thunderstorm's producing very heavy rainfall, probably some quarter-size hail, gusty winds, and a crazy amount of lightning. It's mid-May in Texas, folks. Most storms are going to produce abhorrent amounts of cloud-to-ground lightning, so you need to take lightning safety precautions, especially if you're outdoors, regardless of if it's a summer thunderstorm or one of these storms that is capable of producing more significant weather hazards. Again, we're in the middle of a radar hole here. The closest radars are kind of a mix between the one east of Georgetown, Leak City, between Houston and Galveston. You've got one in Shreveport, and then one west of Alexandria, Louisiana. So what I'm going to do is on my personal display, I'm going to try and find the closest radar here and try and get the closest look. When you're looking at circulations with thunderstorms, you want to find the closest radar possible. And the closer the radar, the better look you're going to get in the low levels of the atmosphere. So it does look like the Houston radar is going to be closest, and it's about 100 miles away, which unfortunately isn't great for looking in the low levels of the thunderstorm. Radar beams emanate out from the radomes in a straight line. The Earth curves, contrary to some flat Earth theories, which we're not going to get into. The Earth does curve. So the radar beam going straight out increases in height above the surface as it moves further away from the weather radar. And as we are looking about 100 miles away from the radar, here I'll just turn on some buttons here, we're looking 13,000 feet above the surface. We're not looking into low levels of this thunderstorm, so we're looking in the mid-levels. I can't tell you what's going on in the low levels of this storm. Now, that being said, those storm spotters or chasers who are there should have a better view, but unfortunately, this thing's also rain-wrapped. So we can just try and give you the best information we can. The Weather Service in Houston issued a tornado warning for portions of Houston and Trinity counties in southeast Texas based off strong mid-level rotation. Thank you, Mr. Jason Cooley. And this tornado warning does include Lovelady and locations east of Lovelady. It doesn't include Groveton. It does not include Crockett. It does not include Trinity. It does not include Kennard. Weather warnings are polygon-based. They are issued for where the storm is and where the storm is going. They have not been issued by counties in about 15 years now. So while this tornado warning includes portions of 2 counties, most of each of those counties are not actually in this warning. So that's why if you're in the polygon, you need to take action. If you're not in the polygon, you don't need to take action. Looks like we're going to have a new tornado warning coming out now for portions of Houston, Trinity, and Walker counties. This is going to be with this thunderstorm near Lovelady. Now, with this new tornado warning, more areas are under the gun. I just said Groveton wasn't under the tornado warning. Well, you're under this new tornado warning. So if you're in Groveton, now you're in the polygon. You need to take action. Tornado warning means there is the potential for a tornado heading your way. What do? Well, that's pretty easy, fortunately. Go to the lowest level you can. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. No windows. Put on hard-soled shoes and put on a helmet. No mobile homes. No trailers. No vehicles. If you're in a trailer, you cannot stay in it during a tornado warning or intense severe thunderstorms. Trailers and mobile homes are great affordable places to live, but they do not handle damaging winds or tornadoes well. It's just a fact of life. It doesn't matter how many straps you put on them, they still aren't going to handle them very well. So that's why you need to go take shelter in a sturdy structure, like a gas station or a site-built structure. Gas station, a fast food restaurant, a neighbor's house. This new tornado warning does continue to include Lovelady. It does run a little closer to the town of Trinity, but it stays north of Trinity. If you are north of Trinity, you're in this tornado warning. You need to take action. If you're in Trinity down to Riverside, you are not in this warning. You do not need to take action. If you're in Groveton, in west of Groveton, you need to take action. And I'm sure I'm mispronouncing this, so let me... You know what? I've mispronounced so many town names over the last couple weeks and gotten nasty grams about it. I'm just going to Google it right now and make sure I'm pronouncing it right. I just found an actual guide on how to pronounce everything. That's actually pretty awesome. Things you learn when you're doing severe weather coverage. And for those who don't believe me, I did live in Texas for about 15 years. I grew up in New Jersey, and by grow up, I mean I lived there till I was like 7, and then moved to Texas and lived there till I was about 22, and now 8 years later I live just south of Oklahoma City. But everyone else still lives in Texas, so Groveton. So I was pronouncing it right. All right, so let's switch back from the how hard it's raining mode to the which way the wind is blowing mode. And yeah, we've got a pretty nasty looking circulation there. That thing screams out at you, doesn't it? Now, again, we're looking 12,000 feet above the surface. We're not looking to low levels of this storm, so I don't want to get overly specific about where a potential tornado might be. That being said, this is a fairly significant looking rotational signature from the radar down in Houston. Even if it is at 12,000 feet. We've got winds heading towards the radar in Houston about 35 to 40 miles an hour, and we've got winds moving away at about 100 or about 70 miles an hour. So this thing's got some pretty strong rotation with it. In addition, as we take a look at the hail indicators with this thunderstorm, we're going to look at a product called vertically inject. Well, that's not it. Let's see if this will work. Radar, not a nice time to do this. I upset the radar. It doesn't like me. We'll switch back to this product. Well, it's not working, but on my other display, the hail indicators are increasing significantly, which not only includes the potential for some quarter-size hail, but increases the threat of a brief tornado because the updraft itself is strengthening, and as you can intensify an updraft, that can help increase tornado potential, assuming your thunderstorm is in fact capable of producing a tornado, and this one certainly is, based off the fact we have a tornado warning. So again, this is going to be a tornado warning for portions of northern Walker, southern Houston, and southwestern Trinity counties in southeast Texas. We'll zoom back out a bit. This does not include Crockett, Kennard. This does not include Trinity or Riverside. This tornado warning is for small portions of each respective county. This tornado warning includes Lovelady, especially if you are southeast of Lovelady, and includes Groveton on Highway 94. As we switch back to the how hard it's raining mode, you can see we got prolific rainfall, enough lightning to wake half the folks down in the cemetery, and we've got probably some quarter-size hail falling. You can see the radar's estimating hail up to the size of tennis balls. Let me be clear. Most of the hail the radar detects melts before it reaches the surface. So while the radar is estimating tennis balls aloft, by the time those hailstones reach the surface, we're likely talking about quarter-size hail. Nevertheless, that's a good indicator we have a very strong updraft aloft, and it's certainly become more intense over the last 10 minutes. So as this thunderstorm moves east-southeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour, those of you in Groveton need to take this warning seriously. It's going to be a tornado warning until 5 p.m. The potential for a rain-wrapped tornado is now probably, let's say, 3 to 4 miles southeast of Lovelady, moving towards Groveton at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. Again, we're looking about 12,000 feet above the surface, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on at the ground or in the low levels of the thunderstorm. This is a radar hole. The closest weather radar is about 100 miles away. Nevertheless, at 12,000 feet, we are able to discern relatively strong rotation with this thunderstorm. So even if there's not a tornado, this thunderstorm is likely capable of producing damaging straight line winds, the potential for quarter-size hail, very heavy rainfall, which will likely cause some localized street flooding, and again, we could have a rain-wrapped tornado down or trying to develop. We're going to look back out over a regional view. You can see we've got thunderstorms extending further southwest across the Brazos Valley. We've got a storm in northeastern Bexar County, just south of New Braunfels, and then we've got additional thunderstorms developing across South Texas. This thunderstorm, you want to tell me the city name? Fine. Well west of Three Rivers or south of Jordanton. And we are expecting additional thunderstorms. As we switch over to the radar out of Del Rio, we've got thunderstorms in northern Mexico. Those are likely to progress east this evening, with a complex or a line of severe thunderstorms possibly impacting South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, and even the potential for southeast Texas, especially closer to the coast tonight, damaging winds, hail, and the potential for flooding with very heavy rainfall. But the reason you're going to see Baldy in Chief and my beautiful bald head at 4:35 this afternoon is we've got a tornado warning in southeast Texas. This is going to be a tornado warning for portions of Trinity, Houston, and Walker counties until 5 p.m. We've got a thunderstorm capable of producing a rain-wrapped tornado. Let's just go ahead and turn on some spatial tools. We'll do some line measurements. About 10 to 13 miles west of Gruton. Or about 8 miles southeast of Lovelady. Again, we have to be careful when trying to say specific locations because the radar is 100 miles away. We're looking about 12,000 feet above the surface. We're not seeing what's going on in the low levels of this thunderstorm, and we're certainly not seeing what's going on at the surface. But with strong rotation in the mid-levels with the closest weather radar, you work with what you're given, and this storm is currently capable of producing a rain-wrapped tornado at any time. Frankly, we're not going to know if there's a tornado at this point unless one of three things happens. One, a storm spotter or a storm chaser manages to miraculously see a visual on this thing, even though it's likely wrapped in rain. So that's not a likely solution, especially with the trees. Two, we hear about damage after the fact. Now, that's the most likely solution of what we're going to know about this storm. If we get damage reports after the fact, we'll know, hey, something happened. Or three, and this would not be a good scenario, is if we had a tornado debris signature or the radar was able to detect tornado debris lofted to 12,000 feet. Now, I'll tell you, if we manage to see tornado debris from this storm at 12,000 feet, we've got a problem because weak tornadoes don't typically launch debris 12,000 feet into the air. So if we get a tornado debris signature at 12,000 feet, it's because we've probably got a stronger tornado in progress. I don't expect to see a tornado debris signature at 12,000 feet. And as we look at the debris tracker, no, we don't. You'd be seeing a blue donut in the midst of all that red and yellow. And we don't see tornado debris, thankfully. I don't think we're going to be dealing with long-track significant tornadoes today. I think these are probably producing brief rain-wrapped tornadoes that are on the weaker side. That being said, a weak tornado will still cause a great amount of problems if it hits your house. So that's why you need to take this seriously. If you're in Groveton, you need to be in a safe place. If you are west of Groveton along Highway 94 to the northeast side of Trinity, you need to be in a safe place. If you're southeast of Lovelady, you need to be in a safe place. This tornado warning does not include Corrigan, Seven Oaks, Onalaska, Trinity, or Riverside. As we switch back over to the how hard it's raining mode after I break the radar, excuse you, chat. You can see this doesn't look like your typical supercell. There's not a screaming hook echo. There's not a clear, well-defined area of, well, typical circulation. That being said, this cell certainly is showing signs of organized rotation. You can see kind of an inflow notch here west of Groveton. That's where warm, unstable air is being fed into this thunderstorm. And the Storm Prediction Center actually just issued a short-term discussion which I want to read real quick because it helps maintain situational awareness. Looks like they are highlighting the potential for a localized enhanced tornado threat in proximity of the warm front, which this thunderstorm is near, by the way. Just got a report of trees down south of Crockett at the intersection of Farm to Market 2712 and County Road 4020. So 3 miles south of Crockett. So this thunderstorm, at least earlier, did produce wind damage south of Crockett. So we know for a fact, even if there's not a tornado, this storm is producing damaging straight line winds that are certainly capable of causing damage. So regardless of if you have significant damaging straight line winds in progress or you've got a rain wrap tornado, those of you in Groveton need to take shelter immediately. It's going to be lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We want you to put on a helmet. We want you to put on hard-soled shoes. Hard-soled shoes are for the fact if you have damage in your area after the fact, you don't want to be stepping on pieces of wood or pieces of glass or whatever else may be damaged and splattered all over the place. With just your feet. That'll cause significant feet injuries, or foot injuries for the grammatically correct terminology. A helmet is to protect your head in the event you have flying debris. A lot of studies went into some of these major tornado outbreaks last decade, where it was found many of the fatalities would have been, or could have been prevented if folks were wearing head protection. And it's as simple as put on a bicycle helmet. You wouldn't think it'd be that simple, but in some cases it really is. So if you have time, put on a bicycle helmet, put on hard-soled shoes. But the key here is you need to be in shelter. The storm's capable of producing significant damaging straight-line winds and perhaps a rain-wrapped tornado. The potential also exists for quarter-size hail. Let's switch back over to the which way the wind is blowing mode. You can see, yes, we still have a pretty broad-looking circulation here. We're looking 12,000 feet above the surface, so we're not going to be able to tell you what's going on in the lowest few thousand feet. Nevertheless, the storm is exhibiting relatively substantial mid-level rotation. Hail core is looking strong. The storm itself is looking strong. So that's why we've got a tornado warning. We're not looking at a long-track significant tornado, I don't believe. This could be one of those situations where we have weak, brief tornadoes down for a few minutes, it lifts, comes back down, etc. But we're also dealing with very heavy rainfall and damaging straight-line winds. And we've got damage reports south of Crockett. Sounds like we've got some trees down via law enforcement. So you need to take this storm seriously. We don't want folks in trailers or cars or mobile homes. Those are at the highest risk of being impacted by even weak tornadoes or severe damaging straight-line winds. If this storm were to continue on its journey to the east-southeast at about 25 miles an hour, it'll be approaching Corrigan, in about, let's see, 25 miles. Let's just use the fancy super-duper distance tracker. In about, let's say, 45 to 55 minutes. Corrigan, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. I might be wrong, but I'm not exactly great at my pronunciations of most things, so. We're going to switch to the San Antonio radar real quick. I want to take a look at these storms developing around south-central Texas. You can see a boundary extending from southeastern Bexar County to south of Seguin to south of Luling to southeast, well, right there, near Flatonia to LaGrange. These storms north of that boundary, we could have some gusty winds, heavy rain, small hail, annoying cloud-to-ground lightning. South of that boundary is a much more unstable air mass, and we've got two storms capable of producing hail. One northwest of Charlotte, east of Pearsall, west of Pleasanton. We've got a second storm west of Three Rivers, east of Cotulla. These are generally going to be moving, well, this left split I assume is moving northeast, this right split I assume is moving southeast. They're not moving very quickly. We've got a storm right over, or just north of Eagle Pass, capable of producing a lot of lightning, as it is. Heavy rain, probably some small hail, gusty winds. We'll switch over to the which way the wind is blowing mode. There's no organized low-level rotation with this storm, but, you know, it's probably making some gusty winds. And then in the middle of nowhere, well southwest of Sanderson, we've got a storm capable of producing gusty winds, heavy rain, hail. Rain in North Texas that we've had all morning into this afternoon is starting to move east out of North Texas. DFW, you should be mostly dry by 6 p.m. And we're going to have a new tornado warning now for the storm. I believe the same storm, but real quick, we'll take a look at these storms in East Texas. These look like they're damaging wind producers. Could have some winds 50 to 60 miles an hour, maybe some small hail. They don't look like storms that are going to produce a lot of hail. We'll look at the hail tracker real quick. If it's kind enough to load, it's not, but either way, maybe some quarter-size hail, otherwise heavy rain, clouds of ground, lightning, gusty winds. Now back down to our tornado warning. It looks like this is actually going to be for a northern circulation. So let's go ahead and dive back down to the Houston radar. I'm going to make sure it's the closest radar, because we're dealing with a bit of a radar hole. You know what? Let me see if I can. We're going to take a look from near Alexandria, Louisiana. This is a bit higher up and a bit farther out than the Houston radar, but it might give us a better look. What we want to do is just keep looking from different radars, and that'll give us a good situational awareness, of what's going on. Yeah, there's a circulation with the northern cell, that's for sure. Back to the Houston radar, let's talk about our new tornado warning. So we've got two circulations here. First circulation, northwest of Groveton, just east of 287, generally moving towards Dibble and 59. Southern circulation, southwest of Groveton, kind of passing near or southwest of Groveton over the next 20 minutes. We'll switch back over to the from the which way the wind is blowing mode to the how heavy the rain is mode. I want to make sure I've got this set up correctly, and I do. Set my radar up. All right, so let's get back to it. We've got a new tornado warning until 5:30 p.m. This is going to be for northeastern Trinity, eastern Houston, and north central Polk counties and southeast Texas. It's going to be for a northern circulation, which is south of Kennard, just northeast of Friday, northwest of Groveton, generally moving towards Apple Springs, Centralia, and Vail. None of those are showing up on this display here, but they're showing up on my personal display. So that's going to be circulation number 1. Switch back over to the which way the wind is blowing mode, and you can see we've got a pretty decent looking circulation, even if it is at 12,000 feet above the surface. Again, we're looking from far away. There's no weather radar that's within 100 miles of this storm, so we're having to look from a radar farther away. We're not seeing the low levels of the storm, we're seeing the mid levels, which makes, one, more difficult to know what's going on in the low levels of the storm and at the surface, and two, we need to take into account that thunderstorms are tilted, especially with more wind shear aloft. So what you're seeing here may actually be a mile or two farther to the, let's say, west at the surface compared to what the radar is showing, because there's some tilt involved. Weather radar beams, when the beam originating from the radome near League City, that goes out in a straight line. The Earth curves, contrary to the flat Earth theory, which we're not going to get into because it's a load of horse manure. The radar beam goes straight up, or straight out from the radar. The farther away from the radar you get, the higher above the surface you get. So, in this case, we're looking about 12,000 to 12,500 feet above the surface. So if you're in Vail, Apple Springs on Highway 94, or Centralia on Fond du Lac at 357, you need to be in a safe place. You're not going to see this tornado if one's down. It is wrapped in rain. There's a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning, gusty winds already. Anyway, strong straight line winds, some small hail probably, very heavy rain, and the potential for a rain-wrapped tornado. Southern storm capable of producing a tornado, also rain-wrapped, is probably just east of Glendale now, on Highway Highway 94 as well, generally moving towards Grooveton. And then after that, we'll have to keep an eye on Wood Lake and see if the Weather Service extends this tornado warning closer to Corrigan. This southern storm's kind of tracking, I'd say, parallel with Highway 287 as it moves to the east around 25 miles an hour. This northern circulation, this northern storm, based on the current radar data, is probably about 10 miles west of Apple Springs and Highway 94. This will be staying southwest of the city of Lubbock. If it were to continue, it could impact Highway 59 around Dibble to Corrigan in about, let's say, an hour, probably closer to 45 minutes. So, again, these are not your typical supercellular thunderstorms we're used to seeing, say, last year on several of our higher impact days, or up in Oklahoma, Kansas, the western half of Texas. These are not out by themselves. These are not visually impressive on the reflectivity. It's a big blob of red and purples and yellows. It's a blob of heavy rain. What we often expect in Dixie Alley or the southeastern United States, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. Frankly, this portion of the state, East Texas, Southeast Texas, Northeast Texas, has more similarities to Dixie Alley in the southeastern United States in terms of what we expect with convection or tornadoes, versus west of Interstate 45 and west of Highway 75, where we have more of the typical tornado alley type of storm structure. Obviously, there's always an exception to the rule, but in this case, these aren't your typical visually impressive supercells. This is a big blob of heavy rain with embedded and damaging straight-line winds. Unfortunately, we're also looking 12,000 feet above the surface because the closest weather radar is 100 miles away. All right, let's clear Lovelady. Lovelady, you are no longer in any of these tornado warning polygons. If you are in Lovelady on Highway 19, you are clear. It's raining, it's pouring, the old man's probably snoring, or your aunt perhaps, and there's a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning still ongoing. Tornado threats to your east now. So if you're in Lovelady, you are clear. If you are in the town of Trinity, you are clear. The possible tornado would be well to your northeast, crossing Highway 94, about 8 miles southwest of Grooveton, moving towards, or just south of Grooveton, as the storm moves east at 25 miles per hour. All right. Where's my caffeine? It's not caffeine, but I'll take it. Seriously. It's what I hate about losing my caffeine, but there it is. I'm happier now. So, it's 4:51 in the afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm David Rammer with the Texas Storm Chasers. It's Tuesday, the 11th of May, 2011. We're here because we've got 2 tornado warnings in southeast Texas moving towards the piney woods of East Texas. These storms are capable of producing brief, rain-wrapped tornadoes in addition to damaging straight-line winds and quarter-size hail. These are producing very heavy rainfall that will likely cause some street flooding, and there's enough lightning mode. Yeah, it's a big blob of heavy rain. What we're looking for is when we switch over to the which way the wind is blowing mode, there you can see we have a more, what would the term be? I don't know. You can see the circulations, though, that's for sure. I'm diving into the wrong years now. May 11th, 2011. Did I say May 11th, 2011? At least back in 2011, I had hair on top of my head. I don't have hair on top of my head in 2021, but, after the last 18 months, I don't know anyone who probably still has all the hair they had on top of their head. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the circulations we have. We've got one circulation coming up on Apple Springs. We've got a broader looking circulation that might just be damaging straight line winds now southwest of Grooveton. Both these storms and their respective circulations are moving east at about 25 miles per hour. When we switch back over to the how hard it's raining mode, you can see they're wrapped in rain. Miles and miles of prolific rainfall, lightning, some hail. You're not going to see these things. These are not your visually stunning tornadoes you may see out in the plains, or the visually stunning tornadoes you we had southwest of Vernon, let's say south of Vernon, back in April. These are wrapped in rain, and in all likelihood, if there's a tornado down, you're not going to see it. We're going to know about it after the fact when the reports of damage start coming in. We had some wind damage reported southeast of Crockett earlier, some trees down. And as we switch over to the debris tracker, we are not seeing any debris signatures. You'd be looking for a circular blue donut, and we don't see anything. Southern circulation, that's all rain. Northern circulation, that's all rain. Now, that does not mean we don't have brief tornadoes trying to touch down and lift back up, because we're looking 12,000 feet above the surface. The kind of tornadoes that are capable of lofting debris 12,000 feet in the air are not your brief, weak tornadoes. They are your stronger type tornadoes. So if we saw debris on radar at this point, we'd have a big problem because we'd be dealing with a significant tornado. I don't think that's what we're dealing with right now, but EF0 and EF1 tornadoes are certainly capable of causing significant hazards, especially if they hit your house. They're capable of knocking down trees, they're capable of doing roof damage, they're capable of damaging structures, they can still destroy trailers, mobile homes, and you don't want to be in a car if one of those tornadoes hits you either, especially where you can have trees fall on you. I'm glad to see you this evening. Let's see, I said May 11, 2011. I had my old accent when I said farm to market versus farm to market. So there's probably going to be a blooper reel that comes out of this, but alright. Let's see. Make sure we have the latest radar data, but let's get rid of the circles and get rid of my poor drawing abilities and zoom back out. So, yes, we could have brief tornadoes with this small thunderstorm complex from northeast of Trinity to Grooveton up towards Apple Springs and Vare. Let me be clear, I don't think we've had tornadoes down the entire time over the last 45 minutes. I do think these storms are capable of producing damaging straight-line winds in addition to brief tornadoes. You can see the Weather Service has extended a severe thunderstorm warning down into portions of Trinity, Polk, and San... I'm going to mess this up. I'm sorry. Again, it's not that I don't know how to say it. It's just I have speech impediment issues. San Jacinto County in southeast Texas. That includes Livingston, Onalaska, Seven Oaks, Corrigan. Damaging winds up to 60 miles an hour, maybe 70 in spots. Quarter-size hail. Can't rule out brief tornadoes. Now my folks are wanting me to say you guys. Sorry, can't do it, Jenny. But again, we're tracking the most dangerous thunderstorms that pose the greatest threat to life and property. Why did the Storm Prediction Center just issue a special Day 1 severe weather outlook? Now that's interesting. You don't see special severe weather outlooks issued very often. I don't know why they did that. Oh, they amended to add level 2 risk in Louisiana ahead of the storms currently in East Texas. Well, that's Louisiana's problem. Sorry, Louisiana. But again, what we're dealing with is we have relatively numerous number of thunderstorms. Let me go ahead and turn off the high-res radar. Let me get rid of some of these city labels, and we're going to take a look at what we have going on across the state. We'll turn on the fancy satellite because I pay for it. I might as well get to use it once in a while. We'll turn on the regional radar. And I think it's safe to say we can turn the lightning off. I think in mid-May, we kind of expect thunderstorms to be producing annoying amounts of lightning. And let me turn off the raindrop things because no one cares. DFW, good news. The rain's starting to clear out. That should be mostly it for the day. You can see we've got cloud cover across a pretty good chunk of the state this afternoon. We've got thunderstorms that are developing farther southwest along a boundary into south central Texas. We've got storms in northern Mexico that could impact South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley tonight. And then these storms that are currently moving into the piney woods of East Texas, the southern Brazos Valley. Some of those may make it into southeast Texas tonight as well. The high-resolution rapid refresh model has been showing two convective scenarios tonight. The first one involves these storms in northern Mexico and south central Texas. That model is showing a cluster of storms developing later this evening. Those storms would start propagating to the southeast towards the coast in South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. Could have some damaging straight line winds. We could have some large hail and flooding, especially where we have heavier rainfall occur. We could also have a cluster of thunderstorms occur in southeast Texas tonight, capable of producing some damaging winds, maybe some hail, but the biggest threat would be heavy rainfall transitioning to a flood threat. It goes without saying, but if you're in Houston or South Texas or Rio Grande Valley, it feels like summer. It feels like a tropical air mass. It's very humid. All that translates to very heavy rainfall and efficient rainfall production. So if we get one of these slow-moving thunderstorms over your location tonight, we could see 2 to 4 inches of rain in an hour. Multiply that by a couple hours, and that's how you get flooding, even if we have been in drought conditions over the last few months. So that's what we have going on right now. We've got hailers south of San Antonio. We've got a hailer that's going to be trying to visit Interstate 37 between Pleasanton and Three Rivers in about an hour and a half. We've got a storm capable of producing some damaging winds and hail southwest of San Antonio, kind of moving towards the south side of Bexar County. Then we've got subsevere storms capable of lightning, gusty winds, small hail, extending all the way northeast along a boundary in the southern Brazos Valley from near New Braunfels to Giddings to Huntsville. Then we've got a little cluster of severe storms capable of producing damaging winds, perhaps a brief tornado, and some hail. Let's go ahead and turn everything back off again. We'll turn on the warnings, then we'll turn on the high-resolution radar, and we'll get back to it. You can see this is not your classic supercell. The tornado warning has been cleared for the southern circulation. Groveton, you're no longer under a tornado warning. You're getting hit by a nasty severe storm with damaging winds, hail, and a lot of lightning. But this storm is not, or at least the portion of the storm hitting you is not really a tornadic portion, it's a damaging wind portion. Now, this northern circulation north of Groveton, by 5 miles or so, does look capable of producing a brief tornado. You can see we've got a pretty good circulation showing up there. Unfortunately, we're looking 12,000 feet above the surface, so I can't exactly tell you what's going on in the low levels of the storm. That's because the closest weather radar is in League City, between Houston and Galveston. So we're looking over 100 miles away at about 12,000 feet above the surface. The circulation is, let's smile and wave and do a measurement, about 7 miles southwest of Apple Springs. It'll be crossing over Highway 94 shortly. It's moving off to the east at about 25 miles an hour. If the circulation were to continue, it could impact Burke and Dibble on Highway 59. Regardless, I think this storm's capable of producing very heavy rainfall. It's producing obnoxious amounts of lightning and could definitely be producing damaging straight-line winds, in addition to a brief rain-wrapped tornado. As we look at the debris tracker, we are not seeing any debris lofted from this circulation. This green and blue stretch line here, that's just a radar artifact. That's not a tornado debris signature. We'd be looking for a circular blue donut in conjunction with the circulation shown here. Now, that's a good thing. We're not seeing debris, obviously. Does that mean there's not a tornado? No. We're looking 12,000 feet above the surface. If we saw tornado debris lofted to 12,000 feet above the surface, we'd likely be dealing with an EF2, EF3 plus tornado. We don't want that. What we're dealing with this afternoon and early this evening are brief, weak tornadoes, in all likelihood, if not damaging straight-line winds. Those are capable of causing significant issues, especially if they hit your house, but they are not likely to loft debris high enough for the radar beam to see it. So this tornado warning goes until 5:30 p.m. this evening. It's 5:03 in the evening on the 11th of May, 2021. I'm David Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers. We've had a few tornado warnings this morning and this afternoon. These have been in result of thunderstorms capable of producing brief tornadoes in addition to damaging straight-line winds, hail, and heavy rainfall. I think as we continue this evening, we'll see the threat transition to hail with these storms in South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley, along with damaging straight-line winds. The potential for flooding could increase in southeast Texas this evening, especially closer to the coast. Same thing for South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. South of the cool front, which has brought unseasonably cool temperatures to the northern two-thirds of Texas, it's summer-like. It feels like June or July. It's hot, it's humid, there's a lot of moisture. And with that, you can squeeze out a lot of rainfall in a short period of time, which is why with slower-moving thunderstorms, we have to watch for flash flooding. So, as we switch back to our only tornado warning, we can see, yeah, there's a pretty good little circulation showing up right there. But we're looking at 12,000 feet above the surface. Does that mean we have a tornado down right now? I can't tell you, because the radar can't see in the low levels of the thunderstorm, because the closest radar is 100 miles away. Now, at 12,000 feet above the surface, we have rotation of about 75 miles an hour. I mean, that's not screaming strong for 12,000 feet above the surface, but certainly could be indicative of a low-level mesocyclone that could produce a brief tornado. If you're wondering about storms in your area or just want to track the storms for yourself, you can do so with our free interactive weather radar on our website at texasstormchasers.com/radar or in our mobile app. It's got a great radar right there on the homepage. You can see our latest weather discussions and our live streaming severe weather coverage. In addition to that, we can send you push notifications when we push out a blog or something's going on, or we're streaming live storm chasing video, which I think we're going to be doing a lot next week out in the Panhandle in West Texas as we switch to a more typical springtime weather pattern, which storm chasers will be happy about if we can get some photogenic thunderstorms out in the flat plains of West Texas, the Panhandle, Oklahoma, and Kansas versus, well, it being in the 50s and cold. Now, mind you, I haven't chased this spring. I've been doing severe weather coverage here in the TSC headquarters, so I'm perfectly content with the 50s and beautiful weather. And we definitely don't want any hazardous weather hitting anybody, so. Now, the latest scan from the Houston radar does show it looks like the circulation has broadened out some, which is good. We might have just had a brief tornado southwest of Apple Springs by maybe 5 to 6, 7 miles. It is my hope the circulation will continue to broaden. This tornado warning will be canceled early, and we can go back to our regularly scheduled programming, which for me is posting digital updates on our social media platforms without having to show off my bald head. Plus, I can make dinner. So again, we've got damage and straight line winds moving towards Onalaska, where we had an EF3 tornado hit last year. I believe it was April 22nd or so. Last year we had that. There were many storm chasers in central and southern Oklahoma chasing photogenic tornadoes. We had a few tornadoes in far northeast from Onalaska to near Seven Oaks. That produced, I believe it was we had a well-defined tornado debris signature and a well-defined circulation. In fact, our tornado coverage from that's still on our YouTube channel. You can go watch that. But that was last year, and we're not dealing with that today. We're dealing with a thunderstorm here capable of producing damage and straight-line winds up to about 60 to 65 miles an hour, heavy rainfall, quarter-size hail. And this storm is moving east-southeast at about 35 miles an hour now. It's starting to accelerate a bit. And this storm will likely continue all the way to Louisiana. So those of you in Woodville, Kirbyville, Buna, Newton, Deweyville, Livingston, heads up. It's going to be coming your way. The potential for damaging winds, some hail, some heavy rainfall. And yes, we can't rule out a brief tornado, but that threat is honestly probably coincident with damaging straight-line winds. Whether it's a brief tornado or damaging straight-line winds, both can produce similar damage. They can knock trees down, they can cause damage to structures, and they can knock down trees on roadways, which is not a good thing if you're traveling on the road at the time. So we need to be mindful of that. If we have any folks outdoors, maybe on the lake, regardless, we don't want them out because of lightning. I'll turn the lightning tracker back on, and I think you'll be able to see pretty easily once I find the lightning tracker. Nope, I broke it. There's a lot of lightning, that's for sure. We'll go take a look at the storms and moving towards San Antonio. Looks like they're starting to get more rowdy. It's going to be a left split supercell north of Charlotte, moving northeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour, capable of producing quarter to ping pong ball size hail and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Now, why did you go and do that? That wasn't very nice. This thunderstorm does show an increasing hail core aloft and is certainly capable of producing hail. You can see, I'll click this button. Now, the radar thinks the storm's moving more north-northeast. I don't think it's moving that north-northeast, but if it is, that's going to threaten more of San Antonio and Bexar County. You might also notice the hail core is intensifying aloft. The radar thinks we have nearly tennis ball size hail aloft. By the time that reaches the surface, it'd probably be quarter to ping pong ball. Nevertheless, those of you in San Antonio, southern Bexar County, Elmendorf, Somerset, etc., heads up, you've got a storm coming your way, and it's showing increasing signs of producing large hail. If this thing continues building to the west and turns a little more to the north, it could threaten the core portion of Bexar County and San Antonio. We've got a severe thunderstorm west of Three Rivers, near Tilden, capable of producing quarter to golf ball size hail, moving southeast at a brisk 20 miles per hour. So those of you in Tilden, I don't know why Tilden's not showing up on this map here, but it's where Highway 16 and Highway 72 intersect. Tilden, Texas, you're about to get hail. This is west of Three Rivers, east of Fullerton. And then we're going to have to watch these storms on the Mexican side of the Rio Grande as they move towards South Texas. Notice this supercell west of Eagle Pass. Let me go ahead and switch that, and we're going to load a radar loop. I want to see where these are going. Give it a second for the data. So we've got a storm over Eagle Pass now, capable of producing small hail. We've got a storm. I'll turn the distance marker on. We got a storm about 30 miles west of Eagle Pass. It looks like it's generally moving southeast, so it should stay southwest of Eagle Pass. That's capable of producing golf ball size hail. And then we've got a storm. I'm trying to make sure I can find the closest cities. This radar does not like showing all the cities for some reason. Alright. My apologies, I'm switching radar sites on my personal display. Yeah, we'll just use Eagle Pass. That's probably a good enough reference point for now. And then this supercell, about 40 miles southwest of Eagle Pass, is moving southeast at about 30 miles an hour. This could actually eventually impact Laredo. If it were to continue and doesn't turn right more, it could cross over the Rio Grande and eventually impact Laredo in about 2 hours. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll keep an eye on this supercell that is currently west of Eagle Pass by about 30 miles, since it could cross into Texas, probably south of Eagle Pass, but we'll have to watch it. Otherwise, we've got storms in Bexar County. We've got storms southwest of Bexar County near Poteet, south of Somerset, southeast of Devine, producing golf ball size hail most likely. And that storm is apparently moving more north, so if it does, it's going to bring a hailstorm to Bexar County. Let's go back and take a look at our single tornado warning up in the Piney Woods of East Texas. Make sure I'm still using the closest weather radar possible. Yeah, we'll switch over to this one. That'll give us a better look at this storm. So this is not a supercellular type tornado. This is a comma head, or the north side of a small bow echo or squall line. These are where we can typically see some brief tornadoes spin up in addition to damaging straight line winds. And yeah, you can see that pretty well, can't you? That definitely is providing a better look at storm scale rotation compared to the radar down in Houston. Yeah, we'll just use that one. So this is going to be passing a couple miles southwest of Apple Springs on Highway 94, about 5 miles southwest of Apple Springs, most likely. Now, could be a brief tornado. This could be damaging straight line winds. We're looking about 12,000 feet above the surface at this point. So we're not seeing what's going on in the low levels of the thunderstorm. We're seeing what's going on in the mid levels. Farther southwest towards Onalaska, northeast of Point Blank, we've got damaging straight line winds moving towards Highway 59 in Livingston, Seven Oaks, Corrigan. And those are where we could see damaging straight line winds of 55 to 65 miles per hour, in addition to maybe some quarter-size hail. A lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. But again, what we're watching for is this comma head circulation on the north side of that little line. About 5 miles southwest of Apple Springs. And so those of you in Apple Springs, you need to be in shelter. Those of you southwest of Apple Springs, northeast of Groveton on Highway 94, you need to be in shelter. That's going to be the lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We're going to go back to the San Antonio storm, whatever. Now, this is a bit of an interesting situation. You can see our cold front boundary here depicted by that green line. This supercell south of Little is interacting with that. This is a anticyclonic supercell. We don't typically have to worry about tornadoes with anticyclonic supercells in the northern hemisphere. But this one is trying to do something rather rare for us, and it's developing a anticyclonic circulation. Anticyclonic is, well, let me try to explain this without going too dyslexic. Your cyclonic circulations are typical in the northern hemisphere, anticyclonic in the southern hemisphere. Left split supercells in the northern hemisphere have anticyclonic circulations. Essentially, you flip a typical supercell with the hook on the south side, mirror it. Your hook would be on the north side. A dyslexic nightmare, I know. But in this case, we're actually seeing a bit of an anticyclonic circulation develop southeast of Little, southeast of Natalia, generally moving towards Somerset. So in addition to the potential for golf ball size hail with this severe storm, we can't rule out a brief tornado with the circulation on the northwest side of this anticyclonic supercell. I know it's weird. And here, let me wonder, I could probably... Well, that didn't work. What I'm doing right now is I'm flipping the map over, and that didn't work, obviously. But here, what I want to do real quick is I'm just going to flip the map. I know, don't even bother looking at the cities. I know it's going to be a dyslexic nightmare. I'll try it that way. Pretend this is looking from south to north. You can see the hook on the south, or on the bottom of the supercell. That's an anticyclonic circulation. As you switch back over to the way the map really works, you can see same circulation, but on an anticyclonic supercell, it is on the northwest side of the storm. And yeah, we've got a bit of a weak circulation. So, could we have a brief tornado spin up on the northwest side of this anticyclonic supercell? Maybe, especially as it interacts with this cool front and we see enhanced low-level vorticity or stretching, and that can sometimes cause a brief tornado. Otherwise, the storm is moving northeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour into southern Bexar County, with the potential for golf ball size hail, winds of 60 miles an hour, a lot of cloud to ground lightning, and heavy rainfall. And yes, I'm sorry to all those I made dizzy. It's a dyslexic nightmare. I know, I won't do it again. I'll get yelled at, I'm sure. So this is moving towards Somerset, Thelma, Early, Southton, Elmendorf, and southern Bexar County. We've got heavy rain falling in San Antonio, the east side of San Antonio to Kirby to China Grove. We've got a storm just west of Seguin, south of New Braunfels, capable of some small hail, gusty winds. And Ryan, if you're listening, go pull up the Dallas fire scanner. Looks like they've got a 2-alarm working high-rise fire. Interesting. That just came through on my Twitter feed. But the only tornado warning we have right now is for this comma head type structure in association with a small complex of thunderstorms moving into the piney woods of East Texas. It's going to be southwest of Apple Springs. We'll switch back over and look at the velocity, or the which way the wind is blowing mode versus the how hard it's raining mode. You can kind of see that little inflow notch on the backside of this thunderstorm comma head northeast of Groveton near Apple Springs. Again, now we'll look at the velocity and you can see, yeah, we've got a circulation there. Definitely the potential for some damage and straight line winds, maybe a brief tornado. This tornado warning goes for another 10 minutes, and we'll have to see if the Weather Service extends it towards Dibble and Burke on Highway 59 in the Piney Woods of East Texas. Someone has rang my doorbell. So good news is that circulation we were looking at briefly, because I was nerding out, southwest side of Bexar County's weekend, so not worried about a tornado with that, but not something you get to see in the northern hemisphere very often, so that was kind of cool to look at. This thunderstorm line from near Groveton on Alaska to Point Blank to west of Seven Oaks is moving southeast at about 35 miles an hour. The potential for damaging straight line winds, some quarter-size hail, heavy rainfall, and a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a bit of a break. I'm sure we'll be, smile and wave and say hooray. Look at that. It's a new tornado warning. This is going to be a tornado warning for the storm back in south central Texas, the right split supercell. For what it's worth, this thing's going to try and pass near Corpus Christi in a few hours if it continues. So we've got a potential tornado south of Tilden. Tilden is where 72 and 16 intersect. This is going to be a circulation south of Tilden. In Tilden, it's likely hailing. So, yeah, we've got a circulation about to cross Highway 16 a few miles south of Tilden. It's going to be a tornado warning that includes portions of McMullen and Live Oak counties. This thunderstorm's moving southeast at 20 miles per hour. South of Tilden, frankly, the only town this is going to be near, maybe in about an hour, is George West. Otherwise, after the storm crosses over Highway 19, it's very rural. So no towns, but if you're in the rural sections of this area and portions of Live Oak or McMullen counties south of Tilden, southeast of Tilden, southwest of Three Rivers, west of George West, heads up, you've got a supercell capable of producing damaging hail and a tornado. Now, unlike the storms in East Texas that were linear in that comma head structure, not a classic supercell, this is a classic supercell. You've got your hail core over Tilden. South of Tilden by a few miles, you've got your hook echo where the warm, unstable air is feeding into the updraft of this storm. Switching over to the which way the wind is blowing mode, yeah, you've definitely got a very strong rear flank downdraft. We'll probe it real quick. Winds of about 50 miles an hour being pushed out by the circulation. You've got winds of about 25 heading into the circulation. So you've got about a 60 to 70 mile an hour circulation. Can't rule a tornado out in addition to damaging hail in Tilden right now and damaging straight line winds. So this storm will be south of Highway 72 in the next 30 minutes, generally moving towards Highway 59 over the next hour. Southwest of George West, it'll be east of Highway 16 in about 20 minutes. Rural area, fortunately, but we'll have to keep an eye on this storm as it moves southeast, because eventually it'll be moving into higher population centers, and eventually, if it continues, it may pay areas around Corpus Christi a visit several hours from now. So there's your latest scan from the radar. You can see hail core just southwest of Tilden, nice hook echo starting to wrap around on Highway 16, several miles south of Tilden, and you've got a decent velocity signature too. So we're going to take a bit of a break for now. We'll be back by 6 p.m. I'm sure, sooner if necessary. Keep an eye on the storms with our interactive weather radar on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar, and in our free mobile app. I'm David Reimer.